An awkward teen girl befriends a Victorian-era zombie reanimated after his grave is hit by lightning. Sound cool? Good, because I'm here to talk about Lisa Frankenstein from 2024. Well, here we are in February, digging our way out of the hole that is January movies, and February isn't too much better so far. So yeah, Lisa Frankenstein. I had an interest in seeing this one since I first heard about it like a month or so ago, and I never really saw a trailer or anything like that. It was directed by Zelda Williams, daughter of the late, great Robin Williams. I miss him. This was her directorial debut, actually, and as far as I could see, I think she did a really good job. Her directing here, one of the best parts of the movie. It was written by Diablo Cody, and I hate to sound like a dick. I've never really liked her. I'm not going to sit in here and say she doesn't have any talent or anything. I mean, she got a lot of attention early on in her career when she wrote the screenplay for Juno back in 2007, which was a huge hit. And there are definitely some of her trademarks here. I don't know if she was influenced by anything in particular. I'm reminded of two films, though, and I know it's already been said. I wrote this review Thursday night, but I didn't get to making the video until now. So now it's gonna seem like I'm saying a bunch of things that have already been said. But anyways, sorry. Edward Scissorhands is what everyone's saying, but what I'm not seeing anyone saying, I guess, I'll put my own kind of touch here. May from 2002. That said, this is nowhere near as good as either of those, and I didn't really find the script to be all that good. So the film centers around Lisa, played by Katherine Newton, which is cool because I just reviewed Freaky recently. I liked her in that, and I liked her here too. In fact, I think she pretty much carries this film. She does what she can with the script, and I thought her comedic timing was great. And she was definitely my favorite part of this whole thing, in addition to the directing by Zelda Williams. I didn't love this movie, but I certainly didn't hate it. It's way better than Night Swim and Founders Day combined. So I guess you could say it's my favorite movie of the year so far. And I'm gonna kind of interject here a little bit. So when I saw this opening night, it was the very first playtime at my local theater. At first it was only me watching it by myself, which is kind of cool. And then there three older people showed up like 20 minutes into the movie, and they did not stop talking throughout the entire fucking runtime. I had to ask them to be quiet politely, sort of, twice. I had to tell them to stop fucking twice, and each time I asked them, they would get kind of salty, and they would quiet down for maybe 2 or 3 minutes before starting up again. So, man, I almost considered canning this review because maybe that influenced clearly it influenced my mood. But I don't know. I kind of wonder if that maybe seeped into my feelings for the movie. But that's kind of why I waited a couple of days to do this. So I'm really enjoying going to the theater, but man, it can suck sometimes. And what's funny is, like, I've been in theaters full of like teenagers, and they've been way more respectful than these old fucks. So anyways, continue on with the review. Sorry about the rant. The setting here was in 1989, and I'll admit I'm a sucker for the 80s, and even all the 80s throwbacks, movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And I thought it was interesting that they chose 1989, the very tail end of the 80s. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool. I mean, if you were alive back then, the early 90s were still like kind of a continuation of the 80s. The early 90s weren't that different. But anyways, I just thought that was interesting. It's an era that I kind of miss, and 80s stuff is a comfort to me for some reason. The setting, however, wasn't really 80s enough. It's a great looking movie, lots of bright colors, and that was cool. But I would kind of find myself forgetting about the 80s setting, and I think I would have preferred maybe a little bit more authenticity, but I digress. That's not super important. There's a few mediocre jokes, referencing 80s pop culture, just to remind you, which felt kind of unnecessary in a way. I mean, I know that's something that they've done in movies ever since even like the 90s when they were doing like 80s throwback movies or early 2000s, but I don't know. I don't really like it. I mean, even the name Lisa Frankenstein references 80s and 90s pop culture, which I haven't seen anyone mention yet. That's when I wrote this. However, I did see Chris Stuckman's review where he mentions the Lisa Frank connection. Damn it. I thought I was going to beat someone to the punch here, but Chris Stuckman is the master, and, we're all going to lose to him eventually. If you're old enough, you might remember the Lisa Frank brand. They made all kinds of stuff like notebooks and binders that were mega popular when I was a kid. Dude, everyone had Lisa Frank stuff. I don't think I ever did, but but yeah, I saw it a lot, and it's a brand that I've remembered to this day. So for me, being a sucker for nostalgia, I found the title to be clever. I love it. Lisa is a very awkward girl. Your typical nobody gets me, movie girl. Most of her classmates are put off by her, and she has no friends. This character has been in a million movies, but, Catherine Newton makes it work. It's not too far off from her character in Freaky, actually. She's kind of a goth girl, and she likes to walk around, local graveyards. And she has one favorite tombstone in particular. It's from the Victorian era, and she even, fantasizes being with the dude that was buried there. That he would actually understand her, and she wouldn't be alone. And she sort of gets her wish one night when, during a storm, his grave is hit by lightning, reanimating him. Like in Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Another thing that Chris Stuckman mentioned in his review. God damn it. Again, I wrote this Thursday night, but whatever. I'm not changing anything. I mean, she pictured herself being with the version of the guy when he was alive, not a zombie version. But still, he's nice to her, unlike most other people, and he listens to her even though he can't himself talk. She tries to keep him hidden, but he's on a mission to find the body parts that he's missing after, being dead for over 100 years. They become friends, they care about each other, and they go on, hijinks and stuff, which I think could have much been elaborated on, and it wasn't, not as much as I thought it should have been. There's a lot you could do with that, and I saw a lot of potential, but it didn't really go in the direction I kind of expected. And that's okay. I try not to have any expectations at all and just, let movies play out in front of me the way that they were meant to. I liked most of the first act, but as time went on, I found myself less engaged. Like my interest would come and go pretty much the whole time, which is usually not a great sign. I mean, I want a movie that just locks me in and doesn't let go, and that never really happened here. It was, however, a lot darker than I expected. In fact, that really caught me off guard. Like when it is pointed out that Lisa's mom was murdered when she was younger, they show a little bit of that in the beginning. So I guess the dark tone was set, right from the start. But I just didn't really expect any of that. And I definitely didn't expect the violent scenes, especially with the PG-13 rating. The boundaries here were definitely pushed. It's really cool to see what you can do to get a PG-13 rating by just making specific cuts and stuff like that. I was really kind of enamored by that, actually, as I was watching. Like, how are they doing this in a PG-13? But what they did, and it's cool. I mean, I don't know why. For some reason, I just expected this to be more tame, I guess, because I knew it was PG-13 going in. But as a horror fan, I appreciated the edgier moments, because without them, we would have been left with a kind of a bland film, really. The script is just not strong enough, and without spoiling too much, let's just say that Lisa uses the creature to kill some of her detractors. Like, there's a scene where he hacks a dude's dick off with an axe. Pretty dark for PG-13. It kind of almost doesn't feel quite right, but like I said, this film relies on the morbid parts. To kind of sum it up, there was a lot of potential here. The concept is cool, but overall, the film falls short. Again, Catherine Newton is great, I love her. She elevates the mostly mediocre jokes and attempts at humor as much as she can. Had this been a movie that actually came out in the 80s, it would likely have had more interesting characters, giving it more diversity and flavor. Instead, Catherine Newton had to shoulder most of the weight. The dark parts felt a bit disjointed, but I appreciated the edginess instead of playing it safe. And in that manner, I'm kind of actually reminded of one of my favorite movies, Super, from 2010. Except that Diablo Cody is not James Gunn. I'm going to give Lisa Frankenstein a 5 out of 10. I don't really know who to recommend this to. Horror comedy fans, I guess, but I don't really see anyone's mind, being blown by it. But hey, if you like horror comedy, somewhat on the edgy side, and keep in mind the PG-13 rating, and you feel like going out and seeing something in the theater, you might have some fun with this. There haven't been, too many horror films in theaters this year so far, and I'm trying to see all of them. I had at least a little fun with this, but again, it fell short of its potential. I am seeing some bigger, movie reviewers, again, I'll mention Chris Stuckman, Cody Leach, and stuff like that, saying that they see cult classic potential. That's not something I thought about at all while I was watching this. So that's a really, really cool concept. Now I'm really curious to see if that does happen someday. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I think it would be cool. Anyways, cheers, guys, and definitely let me know if you have seen this, if you plan on seeing it. Come back and tell me what you think. You can also find me on Instagram.